there. So, well, it was good though. I'm glad you know got to reminisce about something that you haven't seen in a minute. That's always fun, right? Ironcaster hadn't seen. He's seen the popcorn scene about 1,000,000 times. It sounds like, but you know, we've got that going for us.
Yeah, it was one of those ones they would always just like play on TV like all the time, and then whenever I try to go turn it, whenever I'm flipping through, I just happen to catch that sequence. So it's like that, you know, that's going to stand out, and you're always going to remember a house exploded full of popcorn.
Yeah, and it's just absurd. Like I think MythBusters tried to even replicate it. It's not possible. You can't get popcorn. I mean, yeah, you would have to have so much more concentrated heat and stuff like that. But it's fun. It's fun. It's a fun movie. So
that attitude you can't.
Good point. Good point.
Not burning the crap out of it.
Yeah, well, you'll charcoal it before it'll do that. So, well, with that, folks, thanks very much for being here, folks. Hey, well, let's do a little proper tease here. All right, not exactly the Godzilla logo that I was looking for, but it worked enough, and I will take it. So, well, gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. Welcome to Talk Hard. This is Stone Cold Loki, my brother. What's going on?
Oh, not much, Pops. Not much. Just getting by, day by day, getting by.
Sometimes that's what we have to do. Sometimes that's what we have to do. So, Ironcaster, my brother, what's going on?
It's Tuesday. I survived another week.
That's good. It's good. Take it.
Taco Tuesday.
Taco Tuesday, indeed. 40 years ago, Real Genius. Well, I guess it's less than that 40 because it's a 1985 movie, not a 1983 movie. However, it was something that I remember very vividly, and this was kind of like a very integral movie for me. Like I don't know. Look, you said you haven't really watched this in years.
I know I haven't seen this in years, and there's like little bits and pieces that I remember. The laser stuff, you remember the laser stuff, but like the girl Jordan, I think her name's Jordan. I'm pretty sure her name's Jordan.
In the movie, it's Jordan.
In the movie, I can't believe, I'm sure I had the hots as hell for her when I was a kiddo, but that's Eris to a T in this movie. So if you want to know what it's like being around Eris, this girl that talks a mile a minute and is like, you want to go over here? You want to do this? That's what it's like living with Eris of Chaos. So I love it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, so we were talking about the popcorn scene. We were talking about all that kind of stuff. Let's say hello to chat. Chat's going bonkers. Let's say hello to everybody. Penny was here. Hey, Penny, how are you doing? Chris Persia, of course, our mod, the goat himself. How you doing, brother? Oh, you're doing well. Saying hail to the triumvirate of talking hard. Indeed. Indeed. Eric O'Sullivan in the house. Thank you so much. Everything with Dr. Jerome Hathaway today. The colon. Yes. He is so good. I love William Atherton. This is his heyday, of course, with between Ghostbusters and the Die Hard movies, and this movie to me sort of like forever ingrained as this, easily to be, hated, so to speak. Memorized this movie at a very young age. Oh, we should have had Eric come up in here then. It would have been fun. Directed by Martha Coolidge. Yes. Valley Girl. Yeah. Nick Cage. We were talking about that before the show. And actually the young lady who plays Jordan was in Valley Girl as well. She's a teacher now. I don't remember her name. I just remember, going through some different little bits and trivias and stuff. She's a teacher now. Someone will get that name for her.
She quit in 89 and said, I really don't like the life. I want more, and this isn't really my style. So I'm out. And I mean, she's great. She was great in this movie. She's absolutely wonderful. She's one of the very cute things in this movie. And I couldn't believe it. I had no idea. It's a PG movie. It's not like PG-13. You kind of expect that college movie. You're going to see some shit in this movie. It's not. It'd be like a very tame family movie. Now,
yeah, this one holds back quite a bit. Ironcaster and I were talking about that before we started, and Mrs. Pops and I were talking about it as we rewatched it this weekend again. And it's like, I think Ironcastle, you like it. It's like Van Wilder and some other stuff. I said, it doesn't really go there with like Revenge of the Nerds and some of the others that get real risky. This one is definitely more tame and more like, and it's almost like, I'm not sure it's funny as much as it is cute and sweet and quirky. And it's more like that because it is tame. It's like it's quotable. And like you said, you could have it on with the kids in the room and things like that. So other than like the penis spike joke, there's really nothing that's even remotely, really risky. There's a couple of like innuendo stuff, but there's nothing that's really that in your face. So
but the only thing that really stands out for like you couldn't do today is like where you have the adult trying to seduce the 15-year-old. Like,
oh yeah, it's been well. There's a couple, right? Because obviously it's the one adult, and then Jordan, who we understand to be younger, but we don't know exactly how old she is. So we're just going to go on the fact.
She's
19.
She
the character's
says
19.
The character is 19 years old. Yeah.
Okay. So she's a little overage. Okay. Jacob Ironside's here. Hey, brother. I'll be on with Jacob later on tonight, starting at 8 Eastern time. We'll be talking about Casablanca, one of the goats. So
remind me to tell you guys later about the car thing, because we did something very similar to our shop teacher in high school, the last day of school. We ripped down his car to the frame and moved it inside his office in the school in our shop class. So yeah.
Chris Purge is talking about the copyright restrictions because Eric had asked if we were going to watch the whole movie like in real time, and I said no. The copyright stuff's just a hassle. It's just like it's like a cost benefit thing. Like every now and again, I think we could pull up maybe little sequences or things like that, but yeah, it's just not. It's just a hassle, and the rules just change constantly. It's just a nightmare. So, see, Ransom's here. Oh goodness, I had such a crush on that Uber geek gal, Tomboy Angel. Yes. Jordan's super cool. She really is. So, yeah, and Eric's quoting lines left and right. So make sure you get in on that. Tons of those. So sure. Eric's pointed out what we were discussing about the age thing. So yeah. Yeah, lots and lots of fun stuff being quoted in there. So, yeah, the closet gags. Yeah, they're joking about Laszlo in the closet. So, I recently got Valley Girl from the Shout Factory. Great director's commentary by Martha Coolidge, who directed this. Hoping Real Genius someday with extras. All I got is my old DVD. Oh, you can find it. I've got a copy of Real Genius. So I don't know about Shout Factory version, but Princess Leia Rose is here. Hey there. Pat S is in the house. Good to see Pat. Of course, Penny saying hey to everybody, catching up on that. Let's see. I think I got most things. Let's see. Bobby's here. I haven't seen those movies in years. Remember how it ends with Walter Peck's house? Yeah. Walter Peck. Yeah, the Ghostbusters reference. Yeah, it's good. We know why Loki fell for Eris. Seeds were planted back in the day. Yeah, indeed. Sounds like it. Yeah. Same
thing on our Pump Up the Volume.
Yes.
A very similar geeky, quirky girl in Pump Up the Volume that I had absolutely a total crush on.
Yeah, sexy, definitely for sure. And that one compared to Jordan, who's more just like this uber high energy coughing. Yeah. Zax is here. Hey, buddy. By the way, he was our guest on Watch Your Story this last week. So that video is up on my channel, and I'll be on with Zax tomorrow. We're gonna do a little dad talk.
That was a great video on reused content. That was a great video on reused content.
Yeah, I think Zax was very transparent about a lot of the stuff he's gone through and things like that. And I think that's what people have really just got a lot of. It's like, the stuff we've gone through, it's like we don't always discuss openly. And that's one of the things I think that I'm trying to focus on this year is Watch Your Story, is that kind of information for folks. And Zax was just so generous with his time and stuff like that. So,
well, he owns it too. And there's a huge difference between, oh my God, pointing my finger at YouTube and blaming it for all my problems, and owning what happened. And he does that very, very well. A lot of respect for Zax.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So very thrilled and honored to be invited to go over and hang out with him tomorrow. So if you're not get over there and make sure you connect with Zax on that. So Scuba Pete's in the house. Again, another great Watch Your Story with Scuba Pete. Mr. Toy Machine. Oh, they have another great video up. It's Scuba Pete is your partner in crime going on the Lego hunt, man. I was all dialed in on Legos lately. So that was all my speed. So tons of great folks out here in chat. So, okay. Ironcaster, first impressions for someone who has not seen the movie kind of like start to finish. You made Van Wilder comparisons behind the scene, but what was your general thoughts and first impressions?
I mean, that's kind of the unfortunate thing is I was watching the whole time I was watching this, the Val Kilmer's character. I'm looking at him thinking he's sort of the prototype for like I said, Val Kilmer or for Van Wilder. Like I'm like just kind of watching like they're kind of similar actors. It's like Ryan Reynolds is kind of doing the opposite of Val Kilmer. He's like I haven't heard any stories about Ryan Reynolds being famously difficult on sets like Val is.
No, not at all.
But yeah, honestly, like I was hating his character for the first like half or so.
Okay.
Just because he's doing a lot of the stuff that I was like I didn't care for. Like he's just being this prick the whole time, not doing anything. Like I get that he's decided like to just kind of coast, but you gotta make me want to like you. And
okay.
I don't think it's all about coasting though. He's been put under constant pressure by this man has no dick. Walter. He's been put under constant pressure to succeed at this thing. And it's like, I don't care about your other classes. I don't care about any of this. I don't care. You need to be doing this 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And he even pushes him and is like, I will fail you. I will ruin your career. I will make sure no one has anything to do with you for the rest of your life if you do not do what I want. So there's going to be some rebelling there of, you know what, man? Maybe I should just sit back and do whatever and have some fun. It's college. It is college.
Okay, let me kind of rephrase that a little bit. For what I've seen of him in the movie, that first bit where he's just being the fun-loving character. But I'm like, I kind of want to see. I was kind of on the ride with wanting to see them, doing the college thing. I was wanting to see him like get into this, and here's his roommate who's like making like snowboarding like sequence in anything here. Like it'd be one thing if he's like while taking it easy, he's just acing the stuff like it's like some homework while it's nothing. But all I'm seeing is he's just here to party.
And see, it was implied that he was acing everything. They just don't show us that. And that is kind of one of the drawbacks to the first third of the film is you only see like lazy, weird, just very one-dimensional Chris Knight who's already made it. Like he's already so far into it. He's already applying for like the jobs. He's done. Like it's already done. It's beyond coasting. He's lining up the job. There's a quick line that people don't usually catch where Kent's talking about that. I think is it called Darlington? The company's going to work for us. The Darlington guy. No, Knight's got that locked up. And he's like, I wouldn't be so sure. So it's like, it's already sort of like that mentality is there. So, but all right. What do you think about the journey of his character then, since you didn't like him in the early part?
I mean, once that actual like threatened risk to sort of his future comes into play, where he's effectively being threatened to lose it all, now he's got the actual drive and motivation to succeed. Now we're cooking. Now I'm liking him more because he's playing ball a little bit here.
Fair enough. So good.
Like I like where he's still kind of being the rebel. He's going to class wearing his bunny slippers.
Yeah.
Well, he was young talent too. So he was kind of in this other guy's position before. So he's been there for a while. And there's always in college, there's always a point where you're going to rebel a little bit and be like, you know what? Screw it. I'm not going to stay up all night and do this. I'm going to go out with my buddies and have fun, or I'm going to go out to this party, or I'm going to go out and do something. And that's kind of what he tries to teach this kid too, is that it's not always about, let's sit here and burn the midnight oil every single day and work on this problem. We've got to go out and have fun too, because otherwise, what's the point of any of this?
And I think with that in mind, what works here, what does work ultimately, is when you put these two together, they both make each other better because without the kid there, Val Kilmer is just like total party mode. He's all I'm seeing is a total party mode without any of the work effort going into it.
Okay.
And that's so they help kind of temper each other.
Well, and it comes to a head after this, right? Because once you get to this point, you have the big sit down over, what you can or can't do. And then it kind of reverses itself because Hathaway has threatened him. And then he's out here. This is where he has his sort of like, it's the moral imperative speech, right? And then he's totally dials in. And I think that's what is brilliant. And go back to the slippers thing. It was such a slipper thing for me. Like, I couldn't believe between this and Ferris Bueller and some of these other elements of the 80s, this was sort of like an amalgam. I mean, trust me, I'm no genius. I'm no Caltech science laser genius or whatever, but I was totally like the button-up shirt over the t-shirt, shorts kind of guy. Didn't really want to play along with dress code. So I was like, I connected way too much with this movie, probably to a fault. Disrespectful to my teachers and such. Oh, Lord help me. Cope is in the house. So what are you saying?
Less Caltech, more county fair.
Oh, yeah, probably. Yeah. Yeah. So, all right. So let's just back up a little bit to the beginning. We have a little tease of what this laser thing is before we end up at like the weird, the little science fair. And you have sort of like the great jokes about, Mitch's intellect versus everybody else. Cause the parents are even like, dumb as a rock compared to these people. Right. Yeah, it's fine.
And I think this is great just because it's showing this sort of disconnect that, even the I'm sorry, what's the kid's name? Mitch,
yeah.
Okay. Where the professor's connecting with Mitch, it basically talked about the curse of intellect, is that they're sort of so far above it all that it's hard for them to really connect with others, and that for once Mitch will be able to have people who he can effectively talk with on that peer level. Like, I absolutely like sympathize with them here for this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Chris is legit jealous of Mitch. They bond and become best friends. Yeah, I can see that. I mean, I think that's what's, but I don't know that I would say he's like, I don't think he was mean jealous. He was just more like, oh, okay. But I think what you were saying, Loki, like he was Mitch, like that speech is very genuine. Like the transformation in the process over the course of years is part of that. So I like that. Val's character should have become a bit more heroic, more visibly heroic. I blame the editor. Oh, okay. A little bit. I thought it was a little, it's all a little too klutzy and contrived at the end of them undoing what they've done, their invention, sabotaging it, but it was fine. It's okay. Chris is a natural. He's a genius. This is effortless for him, except for Jerry throwing monkey wrenches. That's fair. That's fair. Let's see. I think I got everything else. So, yeah. Hold on. It's not letting me. There it goes. It wouldn't let me hide. As we move through quickly, because we talked a little bit about this. This is that famous quote. I think Chris, one of you guys did this one about, always, never forget to check your references. And then he says, I think I like it when the young people like it when I get down. That is so funny. Oh my gosh. That is such a great, this is a really great representation of the science community of that era. As someone who come out of it, it's like you had these odd, lofty, older professors and doctors, and it was just like you could barely connect with them in a classroom setting. With something like this, it would have been impossible. It would have been impossible. Because I only had like one or two that I ever liked, and most of them were not like tenured. I only had the one because I had the one that had to write my reference letter, and he was a guy who never wore a tie. That was my guy. But usually it's the younger ones that are not tenured, but the only ones that were cool. Some guy like this, he would have been like talking over my head and stuff. I wouldn't have enjoyed this guy. So, RDJ's channeling this film while playing Iron Man. I felt it. Oh, that's an interesting connection and take. What do you think, Loki?
This film?
Yeah, I don't know about this film. I think just the concept of the character, maybe like Stark could be that type of Caltech person, maybe.
Like Mitch or Chris. Chris,
well,
maybe I could kind of see Chris.
Definitely Chris, not Mitch, but definitely that sort of like genius, pushback against authority kind of person. But I think the RDJ character is more also like rich elite genius. You know what I mean? Like it's even bigger than the Chris character because he's been wealthy his whole life. He's been, he's raised in this, so it's even.
Well, they also mentioned I think it's the guy from Ghostbusters, Peck.
Bill
that mentions him and Einstein, Chris and Einstein. Einstein was odd. He was an odd fellow. Usually genius, so. there is an oddity that goes hand in hand with genius. And yeah, that's definitely here in this movie. There's that oddity that goes hand in hand with genius. And sometimes it's a stuck-up, half-witten, idiotic oddity, like what Kent has.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If you've ever been in a class with a ass kisser and been like, how does that happen?
There's a lot of them. Oh, there's so many of them. Oh, it was so unbearable. I couldn't stand it. It's what made me never socialize with most of the science people. I just couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. Cobus pointed out the cinematographer is the same as Close Encounters. Yeah. He so this Zygmunt is his name. I don't know. I don't even know. I may be even pronouncing that wrong. I don't even know. The Close Encounters guy, that's his name. As long as I know his name. He's Hungarian, I think. Anyway, he did a lot of like I don't know what to call it. Regular films. Does that make sense? Dramas, not just Close Encounters. Like he's not like a sci-fi only kind of guy or anything like that. So he worked on a lot of other projects. I don't know exactly his tie-in to why they picked him, but yeah.
Maybe he was just available.
The effortless genius. Yes. Oh, I love this line. That's a great line, by the way. Laszlo is probably one of the unsung best elements of the film because they set it all up as being mysterious and he's just sort of awkward and it's like he's super genius and yeah, he's going to grow 6 inches in a year. It's a great line. It just kind of gets thrown in. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So that's Chris Knight is playful, full of mischief, like Tony Stark when he pokes Banner in the helicarrier. Okay. That's fair. That's fair. So one of the best parts is Kent shows Jerry the mirror. Jerry doesn't look at the mirror. He's so vain. He doesn't even look at the mirror. Yeah. I think that the mirror was such an afterthought to kind of like tie some things together. That's so. Applied physics students are variations of Chris, at least at my campus. Yeah, actually, to be honest, one of my closest friends is a physicist, or we went to school for that, and it was very much Chris, but more. I was more like Chris than he was, but we were definitely not like Mitch, if that makes sense. So yeah, I get you, Chris. I feel that. Yeah. Stop touching your account. This is God. That was, yeah, Scuba Pete. Didn't we all want to do that to somebody? I know it's just incredible to think about, but yeah, we all wanted to do this to somebody. We're just like, I mean, I know so many people. You're like, oh my gosh, please give me an opportunity to figure out a way to do this. I don't know. The tooth. Yeah.
Did it remind you of MASH at all?
The hijinks definitely feels like MASH. It felt like what they went with like Revenge of the Nerds, right? With some of the hijinks and some of the stuff that they would do. It's very much like nerdy. It's like what is fun to us nerds. Like it's and definitely in that sort of like era of things, right? Because then Revenge of the Nerds came out before. I don't think they are borrowing from one another because they're written too close together. But just the vein and the idea of the type of gags and stuff we would do to one another and those kinds of things. Nerd humor is not the same as for everybody, for sure. That's
the God bit reminded me of when they record Frank and Hot Lips and the movie, the MASH movie, not the MASH series.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
MASH movie, and they're
Yeah.
playing it. We got to share this with the whole camp.
Yeah, that was funny. Okay. Yeah, Copa's setting me straight on Zygmunt. I did Deer Hunter as well. Yeah, indeed. Brandon, the anime guy, absolute favorites. Yeah, it's such a fun movie. Such a fun movie. Hail to you, brother. This is God. Stop playing with yourself. Yeah, no, Copa, just a brilliant line. And that's the thing about this movie. I don't know when some of you have watched this, but I felt like it's just so quotable. And I think again, it's back to what you said, Ironcaster, where it's not raunchy, it's not real risque or anything like that. It's just a pleasant movie that you could just rewatch like 100 times. And these lines like this could have like ingrained into your lexicon, so to speak.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Then there's, just it's got a lot of the sort of kind of character tropes you would expect of the 80s. I mean, you got the professor's off being just this total like jerk as he's like he's walking up the house like, you're day laborers, labor.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This is what happens when you don't go to college.
Yeah, Eric, this is a great scene. The final snap when they sort of like break. Let me see if I can find that. It's right before there, isn't it? The exploding apple. That was good. Let's see. There's a montage of the studying is when it happens, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, this is part of the sequence. This is like the training montage.
There he is. He just snaps and comes unglued. And then the best part is they just keep going. Like nothing ever happened. This guy just moves into his space. So this part where the guy moves and takes his spot at the table, that couldn't be more spot on. That's 100% the spot. And trust me, this was a weird study area that they have in this dorm, because we didn't really have that. But if you were in certain libraries, certain areas where you could study for finals and things like that, space was like prime real estate. I remember parking my car at the library and then walking all day and then having one of my friends take me home so we could eat and then come back and leave me so I wouldn't have to give up my good parking. I knew I was going to end up at the library those nights because it would be so hard to get parking during finals those last couple
the
weeks.
The math teacher where you walk in and nobody's there.
This tape recorder.
All those tape recorders out there. Oh man, dude. Yes. That was that was the end of my first semester in college. I was like, there's nothing but tape recorders in here. Where did everybody go?
Yeah, that was definitely, I don't know where it is. I'd have to find. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, by the end, actually, it was always like after, like 80%. You were like 3/4 to 80% done, and nobody started coming. You just ended up with people who just didn't come anymore. So I thought this was a great way of communicating that for the 80s, and all these different types of tape players and cassette players, and yeah, they took me back.
I didn't quite get this. When the first time you see it in the movie, I didn't quite get it because I just saw boom boxes set up. I'm like, I'm expecting to be part of a prank,
right?
Being set up. I'm like, are they just going for something wacky? It's like, totally forgetting that those had the ability to record. So by this point, I'm like, oh, okay, that's what that was before.
Yeah, it's awesome. This is awesome. This is ice. This is what happens to water when it gets cold. This is Kent. This is what happens when they get too sexually frustrated. Yes, such great lines. Let's see, snow. Yeah, all of this. And I can tell you that as nerds, we would sit around and try to contemplate, like, how much snow could we get in here? How much ice, or how much, smoke machines? How could we? Yeah, we tried.
What did you guys think about Kent, though? Just in terms of sort of this little annoying kind of suck up.
I mean, he is the embodiment of that era's, like, I think like what you were saying, he's the embodiment of that person.
Brown
that
nosers
during that time. Yeah. Yeah, it just happened. They're just little things like this that kind of work, but also just like the silliness of it all. It's fun. and then
And
Jordan
all
walking
in
in while he's
all,
peeing. Go ahead.
all in all, that hasn't changed that much. You're still going to get that. You'll get that at work. You'll get that at school. You'll get that. There's always going to be,
Kent.
oh, would you like me to pick? Yeah, there's always going to be a Kent. Whether they dress like that, look like that, totally different. But there's always going to be a Kent.
That's true. That's a very, very valid point, especially someone who works in corporate America. I can tell you that definitely this still happens. So Loki likes, there's a love for the MASH reference. Yep, good on.
Yes.
Was it a dream where you see yourself standing as a sun god robes on a pyramid with 1,000 naked women screaming and throwing little pickles at you? Why am I the only one that has that dream? Eric loving this movie. He's throwing out all the quotes. Got it. Yeah, that was a great line, Copa. Yeah, it's fun. My wife laughed out loud at that joke, which I don't understand how anything surprises you to laugh out loud at this point, watching this movie as many times as we have, but that one always gets her. So
That's one of my favorites.
yeah. Jacob's quoting it as well. Look at that. Awesome. Great job. Such a great movie. Yes. Okay, let's get to the car. Look, you have a story. You did a car prank.
So I had shop. I think it was a junior. I was a junior in high school, and we were car shop. You know, all the guys took car shop. All the cool guys took car shop, and our shop teacher was a coach. He was a football coach, so I knew him. A lot of people knew him, and he also did the student driver stuff.
Car?
So he had the student driver car parked outside of the shop class all the time. So right before the end of the year, we took the shop car apart in the middle of the night and moved it inside the shop and got it inside his office and put it back together in his office.
Wow.
So that when he came in, his shop car was inside the office. We pulled out the engine mounts. We did everything. We did
That's
the
incredible.
whole kit and caboodle.
I think that was done, guys in chat. You guys will know. I think it was a Goldberg's episode. They did that exact thing. It was like a shop class thing. Took the car apart, put it back together. It may have been. If it wasn't them. If it wasn't Goldberg's, maybe it was Community. I mean, one of them definitely did it. Go ahead.
It was one of those sort of sitcom tropes. So I remember, like, I think Boy Meets World did it as well at one point. Like, it was like all over the late 80s, early 90s.
You know what stinks too is we didn't have like digital cameras and stuff like that to be able to capture that moment, Loki. So you would have had a Polaroid of Loki's accomplishments back in the day. Is anyone surprised?
He laughed. He smiled. He nodded, and then he said, "Now get it back outside."
Yeah, that's great. Teachers back then were really pretty cool, weren't they? I mean, I think most teachers handled most pranks pretty well. Yeah. I don't remember any like teachers like, get them out of here, that kind of thing. We got away with a lot of stuff. So yeah. Let's see. Yep. Just like you can't. Don't want to go back and finish my senior year. I was like, Copa, learn how to like the bee walking home. Yeah. Oh, Brandon, is this legit? You're talking about going back to school and finishing? Oh, I have 24 credits. Just, knock out a couple at a time, man. You'll be all right. All right.
Hey, I'm sure you can probably get those at Anime 101. I think at this point you can teach that class.
Yeah, you could. Eric's talking about the ice. There's a sled in Act 1. Act 2 is cutting the slugs off for the coffee machine, and then of course with the laser. Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, kind of. I think that they kind of leave Kent's like future kind of like hanging out there. And we'll get to the ending because I definitely want to throw out like some of the elements that actually don't work in the movie. So let's see. Yeah, fun movie, by the way. I just love this movie. Yeah, Eric, that line. And then the line, obviously about a 6-inch spike through a board. You gotta have standards. It's great.
Those little moments almost are very surprising because it's tame otherwise. So it's a tame 80s college movie. I mean, you think I'm going to watch an 80s college movie. Oh, well, there's going to be great women running around and topless, and you're going to have all this stuff. You start thinking, Animal House or something. But it's not really that kind of, or Revenge of the Nerds. It's not that kind of movie.
Okay, so Eric's pointing out Sherry makes her mark in Act 1. There's with Chris, then Mitch in Act 2, and then Laszlo in Act 3. Yes. It actually is a fun little, clean little thought out script. It's fine. It's all very, very solid.
It's got some good setups and payoffs.
Yeah, we don't really quite exactly know what happens with Kent. Like, we just know he survives the popcorn thing, and Jerry's torn down, so it actually will give Kent some freedom to do what he needs to do. So that all works out pretty well. Okay, so we lifted the coach's car by hand, carried it to the other side of the parking lot. He thought it was stolen, called the cops. We had a laugh. He also threw up after he ran us to death.
Yep.
Yeah. Messing with the coach's stuff is actually a little tricky. You gotta be careful doing that. So, yeah, it's a PG film. It's definitely not a sex farce. We said topless, so we got his attention again. Yeah. They all hang out after the popcorn too. Okay. Don't eat that. Eat that.
Scuba Pete.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Scuba Pete's on it.
Oh God, I'm too late.
Yeah. That was that's a beach party.
Yep. The beach party.
That's
they don't have a beach. They made their own beach.
Yeah.
Every college movie's got to have the party.
I have to be honest, we all thought we could. So in college, there was definitely a move to make this work. And then somebody found, so where I went to college, near there is an Indian casino, and someone found that they could get slugs, and you could get this slug, and the slug would go through the machine, register the token, give you whatever would come out, and then give you the slug back because it wasn't an actual coin. So you had like a coin that would get you for a quarter. So the problem was you needed more than one slug for most things, but we definitely ended up getting slugs. But we all thought about trying to figure out the dry ice thing. The problem is it actually is a lot harder to cut than it showed in this movie. It's actually not particularly easy to do. At least
payphones used to pay out. They used to get us drinks. So if you were lucky enough to have a small micro cassette recorder back in the day, you could replay it and get it to dump you out quarters and change.
Like War Games did it, right? We talked about We talked about War Games, and there's a quick little moment in there with that. Yeah. Couldn't pass the fundamentals of speech making. Terribly shy. Owns the biggest body shop. Okay, cool. I think it's the closure denounced with Kent being included in the gang. Yeah, that's fair. All right. The aircraft slide to the pool. I wanted to do that. Yeah, no, this was everything about this type of party was not what the nerds got to do. We usually were not part of that world for the most part. Those kind of parties. I'm trying to find it again. Sorry. There we go. Yeah, this wasn't not our scene. Usually that's more like a frat type scene, but yeah, sometimes you could.
Well, you know how it is. The nerds got to get the revenge sometimes.
Well, I'm in Florida, so for us, it would just be going to the beach. So it would just be everyone who's got girlfriends, friends. You just start. It was just like law of numbers, just to keep inviting out and going to this beach on this side of the dock. This is what so you end up with like 40, 50 people, and you just have this party, and that's what you do. So yeah, and it will turn into vapor, no evidence. It will be moist. It'll probably wreck the machine over time if you keep doing it. But yeah, good point. Destiny. I've got her now. Yes. Tax-free cigarettes from the res. No, I didn't run tax-free cigs, but ran a lot of bingo. I was a bingo caller for a while. You could see that, right?
If you had someone that was in the military, a family member, I remember getting $8 cartons of cigarettes. No tax.
Slugs didn't work in most of the slots, but they'd work in other stuff. So yeah. Laszlo and the Frito-Lay. Yeah. So Okay, so you might want to address that because that's actually based on real life too. Want to talk about that? I try to find it.
Yeah. So Laszlo, the guy who's been here since the 70s, who's basically fried his brain by doing nothing but studying. He's always they set up that he's always looking for like he's always looking for problems to solve. And you see this all the time where he's like he manages to basically figure out the question to every single one of the professor's questions that he can go and tell Val Kilmer. He's kind of gone in and he kind of this sort of Obi-Wan like mentor to the rest of the group that he's always kind of there to give a little bit of wisdom to. And he figures that by entering this competition with effectively unlimited entries allowed, he can game the system to basically get about 32% of every single prize, including like the car, the RV, the power generator.
Yep.
Yeah.
So this was based on, so when Martha Coolidge does her research, she goes to the Caltech, and students there game the system to win like $3,000 or $4,000 of McDonald's prizes. So if you know anything about prizes now, or if you're not young enough to know this, back then it didn't say you had to mail each entry separately. Like back then you could just send in. So hence the reason that he could send in a whole box of entries, because obviously it wouldn't make sense. Like how would he have like, thousands of dollars to send in, a million entries? Well, back then you could send a whole box in. They rewrote those rules very, very quickly because people know how to game a system. So I don't know why Steven thinks I'm the wild man of this group. Loki took his shop teacher's car apart and put it back together again. So, he one up me. I will take a pause. The craziest thing I did do. So this is what we did. I worked in my senior year, third semester. I'm almost done. I'm literally like Chris and I on my high school. This is high school though. So I worked in the front and I had all, you'd be super sweet, being the good kid and all that, but secretly you're always the conniver. How could I get myself out of school? How could I skip school and not get in trouble? All that kinds of things. Well, we created a fake student, and the goal was to figure out how to have them actually have a legitimate registration and all that. And he literally had a whole document in a file. His name was Bart Steinway, but I couldn't find a right way to fraudulently create fake. I think it was a birth certificate and something else. It was the way they were printed. We just didn't have that stuff back then. But yeah, Bart Steinway was a joke with among my friends. I got so close to getting Bart Steinway onto the actual role. That was my goal. Very Ferris Bueller, I know. Big day for Chem Nerds was synthesizing artificial banana smell in order to the lab and then using it for evil. Yes. Lots of smells. Yeah, I love my chemistry teachers because they were all about us. Like if we were using the nerdy stuff, they were all about like teaching us like even stuff we shouldn't have known. Like you could do fart smells, you could do like the smoke bomb stuff. I mean, you could do all sorts of crazy stuff in chemistry. Not Walter White, but I could see how it could go sideways. I have certain materialistic needs. Again, Laszlo's great. Yeah, the real Frito Mendito, indeed. Steinway. Yeah, the guy first started. Yeah, it's funny. Fun Truck Love on the guy to wreck 1 million air travel miles through healthy choice pudding cups. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the story goes that the guy wound up like donating and all to charity. He got it as a big old write-off.
Huh. That's fun. So the film goes along pretty well, and they're developing the laser. And what is interesting is then as they kind of go through the finality, and there's a quick little reference to this early on. So it does still count as a callback because they talk about Laszlo and his meltdown had to do with whatever he was working on was going to be used for nefarious purpose to kill other people, leading to death. So that's part of why he broke down. So here they are celebrating that they originally pull this off and they make this laser, and then Laszlo shows up to kind of burst the bubble. So we have our last sort of like 30 minutes set around, oh crap, we made him this laser, Kent made this mirror, what are we going to do? And that's when they come up with the idea, but because it doesn't say 2 cents, this is when they come up with putting the microphone in his braces to have the god stuff. And they come up with their scheme to get revenge, basically. These photos are great, by the way. And by the way, they never stop short of trying to make a gag because they hand the two IDs. He's like, yeah, mine looks like yours and yours looks like mine. Like, it was so clever to try to throw yet another gag in when you didn't need to. You could have just kept going, but it was so good to see them just, we don't write good scripts anymore, guys. I have to take it for what I can here.
And it wasn't that difficult back then to make something like that, because all you needed was something to laminate it. That's it.
That part was easy. Yeah, this part I can make at school. That part, if I could find an Air Forces of the United States, this piece, the card itself, yeah, piece of cake. Because it looked that cheap though. It looked that cheesy. But hey, listen, it'll work. So again, Loki is someone who grew up in like military. How did you feel about all like the military stuff, the base stuff, things like that? This is the one area Mrs. Pops and I are both kind of like, it's like 80s conveniences, 80s tropes, bad mustache. It's just that kind of stuff. I don't know.
No, I agree. But here's the thing. Back then, because this is going to be totally different than the way it is, or at least the way it was when I was in. Back then in the 80s, you could pull up in a minivan in a like a Ford Aerostar, and they'd see your sticker, and boom, the salute would go up, and you drive through. That's all it was. There was no, I'm going to stop and show you my. If you had that sticker on your car, they didn't even stop you. They just saluted, and you drove by. That's how easy it was to get onto a military base.
Yeah, I think it was because of people trying to get onto Area 51 that started, right? Because it was long before national security issues. It was people like trying to get onto like places like Area 51 and stuff like that that started to get like tightened up.
It wasn't until 9/11 that stopped, and they started IDing everyone. So it was because I couldn't even get onto a military base without my military ID. I could have the sticker on my car all I wanted to. If I did not have that military ID, they're not going to let me on a military base.
I don't know. It's fun to know how much there's been evolution, though. I really have to tell you. So again, yeah, I know. Eric says, I'm kind of forgiving of some lesser story beats. Yeah, the last act of the film becomes like, well, let's try to make some sort of serious message and sell this to people that are about the Cold War or the, they're anti, almost like an anti-war, anti-politics, anti-Reagan, Star Wars, laser in the sky type messaging, that kind of thing. So, but it never got political like now. There was no name dropping, right? So clearly that's what they were going for. Clearly that was some of the messaging that was kind of like shoehorned in and around the comedic elements of this last sequence, but never to the point where I thought it was, super bad.
They were still kind of bagging on all the military since Vietnam. They'd been kind of like, let's just bag on the military. To make fun of the military. Military's a joke. Oh, look at all their stuffy. They have no humor. They're all serious. Yeah.
And just the idea that the scientists would make a laser, it's going to be used for evil. It's going to be used for war, not used for benevolence in any way, shape, or form. Because clearly there's obviously a million uses for lasers because we use them all the time. So Steven asked about how many jokes were ad-libbed. I don't know. Did Ironcaster, do you guys, either of you see anything about like actual like set stories? I don't think I ran across anything about that.
No.
Like the closest I came was a little bit of Val Kilmer being Val Kilmer. It might be one to kind of go through with a commentary at one point.
Okay. Yeah, he is. Yeah, not known to be the easiest to get along with back then, for sure. You got to understand too. This is like super celebrity for him, right? Because this is right before Top Gun. He had done Top Secret, which was kind of like a big surprise hit. Like it would become like a fun. I mean, I remember seeing that in theaters, and my mom and everybody wanted to go see it again. Like it was just that airplane humor done in a fun, silly, goofy way, and he was sort of kind of like, one of the it guys. He was just like, it was a big deal. And I don't want to say it went to its head, but yeah, kind of went to its head. I want to say,
It was the cocaine 80s.
It is indeed. It is indeed. It didn't last long for him. I mean, he got to Willow, which was fine. It's a, a little bit of a gap here and things like that. And then he did Doors, which is like, I'm going to try to do something serious. And then it just kind of peters out. You get Tombstone, of course, and the Batman efforts. It's like just nothing really kind of took off for him like that. He was very serviceable. A lot of good films, a lot of he's not the problem in them kind of films, kind of like The Saint. I thought The Saint was in that category. Like any issues I have with The Saint, it's not because of Val Kilmer per se. So
I always say Val Kilmer made Tombstone what it is. And we couldn't have done that without Kurt Russell, but he was absolutely positively. It's the best version of Doc Holliday you're ever going to get. Everybody was quoting that. Everybody was talking like him. Everybody in Texas was talking like him. I'm your Huckleberry. Oh, God help me.
We're going to be doing that movie in a couple weeks. So make sure you mark your calendar. Make sure you stay on top of the schedule. So
I'll finally get to see it.
Why?
Oh my
you look like someone just walked all over your grave.
Okay, I have it on Blu-ray. I haven't seen it yet.
Okay. The music, Tears for Fears starts playing. And it was when we watched the end of this movie, Mrs. Pops and I are always singing Tears for Fears for a while after that. This is not a go to bed kind of movie for us. We'll be like kind of wired a little bit. So this would have to be one we watched a little bit before then. So
you've got that big old Val Kilmer grin on your face.
I have such a blast with this movie. My wife will just always so the worst thing is about when we're around my mom will always start telling stories that I may not have shared. That's usually what happens. Or my sister and my mom will start in on what I was really like. Everybody thinks he's the good kid because he was smart, but he did this, he did that, he did this. And you're like, oh crap, I forgot to tell everybody about that. Oh yeah, I didn't want to talk about that. It's like my kids, the look on my kids' face. Okay, I'll tell you this one. So my kids, all 5 of them are there, they're talking. And I'm just eating or whatever we're doing, not even paying attention. And then all of a sudden it comes out and one of the kids comes to me. So Dad, why did you have a newspaper machine in your living room that you opened and your TV was in there? How did that happen? And I'm like, illegally. And that's all I would say. I don't want to talk about it. That was bad. That was not good. It's not something thanks mom. Thanks sis.
Before you move this year, that's the grin on my face when I get when I see a shark movie.
Oh, and a new one listed, or what's the one everybody's talking about? The sloth horror movie. What's everybody talking about? Some sort of sloth horror movie coming.
I've been saying they need to make a speed sloth movie.
Slaughterhouse. Yeah, Slaughterhouse. Yes, I heard about it. They're talking about it at work. I don't know if there's a trailer or something for Slaughterhouse, but I was like, oh, it's an Ironcaster movie for sure. So, yeah, Top Secret was that first movie, and it was so much fun. And he wasn't it guy for sure. Everybody's skeet surfing. Got to jump for a scuba dive, catch the rest of the night. Take care of us, Pete. Keep in contact, man. We have you on. Sometime. Willow was big, yeah.
You are great.
Pete. Why, Wyatt? You look like someone stepped on your grave.
Walked all over your grave.
Thunderheart. Oh, that's a good reference. Yeah. We don't talk about Ick enough. Ick needed more time. I was not a wild man. I did a lot of stupid things. I know, so. Yeah, that's true, Eric. It's a good point. I like that part. They all jump the fence to make sure he's okay. That's good. So, yeah. So let's see. I will say that's just the idea of doing the popcorn thing I thought was fun. It's just the idea of when we rewatched it, and he shows up and his house is collapsed, there's popcorn everywhere, and you got these people running off. What do we get a kick out of? Where is it? Right here. This shot. So you have the shot. You have the shot with the wheelbarrow. Crap, that's a stupid thing. Yeah, so they got like a little wheelbarrow, and she's got like a little red flyer tray full of popcorn. Oh, we had a good laugh at that. Like, yeah, that sounds about right. We didn't really do any fun love over like the slippers jokes and some of the other stuff on your head and all this kind of fun stuff, that kind of thing. So
Yeah, I do wonder a little bit about like what the hands on the wall are supposed to be, because I'm thinking like, oh, he's going crazy, like hearing the voice of God. Is he like smearing poop on the wall?
I don't know what that's supposed to be about. Is it in the earlier scene too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was there. But I'm like, why are the hands on the wall? Is he going crazy hearing the voice of God?
Yeah, it's just weird marks all over the wall.
They're handprints.
They're there too, though. They're there before he was crazy.
Yeah.
See, they had one of the dorms where you draw and paint on the walls, which I didn't have a dorm like that, but my friend did at Clemson. So all the walls are so thin, it's almost like paper, but it's some sort of like, it's not even like a sheetrock exactly. It's terrible. Anyway, they were all allowed to draw and write, graffiti them up. So I don't know why Kent's handprints are not really addressed anywhere.
Like it's because it seemed like with the dorms would all kind of help kind of tell the types of people they are, and Kent seems to be this really uptight kind of neat person, and the handprints just kind of throw that off.
That's true. I don't think I ever caught the handprints to the point where I was questioning it. Good on you, IRONCASTER. Yeah, see how they would draw and paint on all the walls and stuff. So yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. That's good. Okay, well, that's good. Love Batman Forever. Val was great in my humble opinion. Huh. Great is a little tricky for me, Eric. I will say good, underrated compared to some of the hate. He is not the biggest problem with that movie for sure. How's that?
I'm gonna have to see about watching it the next time I go to the dentist to see if it improves.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Dr. Moreau, Val and Brando. Yeah, not a big fan of that one, actually, to be honest. So, well, Jana's literally watching Ghost in the Darkness right now. Cool.
The Lions of Sabo.
Was there a cut scene? It could be. I don't know about deleted scenes. Did anybody look and see if it's about deleted scenes?
I don't see any.
I didn't notice anything of any significance on deleted scenes.
There's just one where Val Kilmer is in a lawn chair with a bunch of helium balloons. That I guess was using some promotional material that didn't make all the cuts.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Got a sobriety of gorillas.
Oh,
They need to update their computers. Those computers were about as good as they're going to get in that time frame. I don't know what you're talking about, Pat. I mean, that's, we're talking Apple IIe era. So they would tie in the fingerprint on the laser. Oh, the laser. Well, yeah, but he wouldn't put them on his wall on purpose. I don't know. Oh, Eric. Yeah, you just gotta keep going with it, huh? Okay. Well, yeah. Maybe a conversation. Careful, Eric. I'm a Batman guy. Don't get carried away on me, buddy. Maybe we'll have you included. You can defend the movie amongst your peers and see. All right. Before I take it down, anything else we should spend a minute looking at real quick?
Not really. I mean, unless you want to talk. Nothing else really stands out.
Yeah, I don't know of anything else in particular we didn't talk about or cover. Come on, chat. Anything else we didn't talk about or cover that you want us to get into, guys? Yeah, I don't see. There's handprints there. He's looking around. That's weird. He used Kent's car to get in. It's still so funny to me. I like the fact that the again, the military type thing, using it for evil. They kind of staged the target dummies, sort of like the JFK motorcade.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. Good indeed. Okay. So what is some final thoughts, IRONCASTER?
Final thoughts. The popcorn scene is probably the most iconic thing out of the movie. Just because like a lot of the other stuff, a lot of the other beats the movie has, we've kind of seen in other places before. That so many other movies were kind of doing things like it at the time. I mean, there's obviously a couple years before this was Revenge of the Nerds, so you have a lot of the sort of college hijinks sort of stuff. Police Academy likewise did some similar stuff there. Just kind of getting to see the sort of like real geeky side is something that does kind of help it out. But outside of them doing the laser stuff, it gets a little kind of it gets a little forgettable.
Okay. I'll say this to defend the film a little bit in the sense of what you're saying with Revenge of the Nerds and Police Academy in particular. They're all being made within the same sort of 18 months. So it's like, you know what I mean? This one comes out in 85, but the other two are in 84, I believe. So I think they're all, I don't think one is really feeding into the others. I think it's just this era of teen hijink movies in the vein of Risky Business, which was 83. So yeah, it's a lot of that kind of stuff. So
it was in the water.
Yeah, we were loving it. We were eating it up for sure. Loki, what about you, brother?
I think Val Kilmer does a great job in this movie. I like Jordan. The girls in this movie were great. You got a couple of different girls that were in this movie that did absolutely wonderful jobs. Ironcaster's right. There's a couple of things in the movie, like the thing with the teacher and the student that wouldn't fly, and her going and kissing, a 15-year-old wouldn't fly. Oh, she's 19 or whatever. No 15-year-old guy is going to turn down a kiss from a 19-year-old girl. That's just not going to happen. And if he had the opportunity to make out with one, he most likely he's going to do it. It's funny. It's different. It's not Revenge of the Nerds. It's not Animal House. It's kind of doing its own thing. I thought what Ironcaster said about it, the Van Wilder thing, he's Val's kind of Van Wilder in this. He is. So there's definitely maybe Ryan Reynolds got some inspiration from that. Maybe he watched this movie at some point. It was like, that's absolutely kick ass. And then, he can do something like that. He's like, yeah, I would love to do something like that. Maybe that was an inspiration. I don't know.
It would be kind of interesting to go then turn around and watch Van Wilder as sort of a see after this one, so do a double feature.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's made me want to rewatch, like we said, like Revenge of the Nerds and Police Academy. I've done Risky Business already. There are others, Summer School, Summer Rental. There's just tons of these kind of films that are sort of in that vein of these kind of films. But I like the idea, like I think somebody said, Steven said it right, about Hollywood wanting everybody to go to college. This was definitely part of this. Look, you're talking about anti-military. There's Cold War, anti-Russia. You had to go to college to make money. You had to go to college to get certain, these mantra of things that were sort of like ingrained in everything. And Hollywood was all about fanning those flames for sure. And this is one of those as well. And it made nerds, I don't know, did it make us cool, or did it maybe it just made us cool to other nerds? I don't know. I don't think it made me feel like anybody thought we were cool. We were not. So.
And Nerds, Revenge of the Nerds directly dealt with all that. I mean, the Omega Mu party, and I mean, the only thing is like Lewis at the end of the movie getting a girl. That's all that, and that's because it essentially, I mean, you go back and watch Revenge of the Nerds and watch what he does and how that all comes about. That was some underhand. I mean, you could talk a lot of shit about that movie today, but they definitely weren't the ones having the crazy parties. And when the Lambdas did that with the Moos, and they're all smoking, hey guys, wonder joints. That's what it took to get them to relax enough to actually get down and have a good time. Otherwise, they would have just been sitting there like a junior high dance, guys on one side, girls on the other side. So yeah, it definitely dealt with they're not cool.
By the way, make sure to go get a physical copy of Revenge of the Nerds while you can.
Yeah. If you don't have one.
Hard bodies. Those were hard to find on physical media. Totally USA, All Alley Night, and Night Flight movies. Yeah, yeah. All this stuff. All of this stuff is sort of like not approved content by today's world. So yeah, I would see that. So yeah, Steven Ransom. We grew up in that era too. Like the older girl thing was like, yeah, the dream come true.
We we all give Mike so much shit about his window jumping antics and all that stuff that Mikey gets into. I used to do pools when I was 16, so I used to go out and clean pools for the summer. And one day I will tell that story, but it's not going to be today. So we might rag on Mike about all the antics he gets up to, but I cleaned pools for a whole summer when I was 16. Now that was at the height of football, and yeah, so. One day, Pops, I promise I'll tell that story, but it won't be.
It's all right. No, we all have. I'm trying to think of how to navigate around stories as well, my friend. I was no pool boy, but I'm not saying I'm not without stories as well, but not necessarily ones I want to reflect on in a positive way. It's more like shame and embarrassment. But when you're 15, 16, wasn't any shame or embarrassment. So. Fast Times, Fox's Jodie Foster and Sherry Curry.
Porky's,
yeah. Porky's was a huge deal back in the day for sure. So Castle's hanging out in the house. Thank you. The Triple Lindy, back to school, baby. Back to school. So yeah, it's an era sort of gone. Like we talk a lot about like sort of like RIP comedy. And this is that era of teen comedy, that kind of thing we talk about. I'm going to have a special little show I'm going to do with Troy Pacelli, talking about this as well, because we definitely have some other like 83 movies that are turning 40. It's like, could they do Trading Places now and why? Those kinds of things, like different movies that are like, ooh, yeah, they're not down for some of the. So this is Real Genius is sort of like in that nice safe camp where yes, it has the Jordan Mitch thing, but it never really, I think, goes too far. It does enough around the edges, I think, that it's still fine. Yeah, but all the Porky's movies were just totally edgy.
But it's one of those things you can easily fix with like one or two lines of dialogue.
Yeah, well, there's a TV version, so obviously the 6-inch spike is with your pinky, I believe. I don't think it's like what? Yeah, things like that get changed for the TV version of these kind of things, but yeah, very little. So, Secret to My Success. Oh man, Michael J. Fox reference. Yep. Wow, Hollywood was a big one for me. Mm-hmm.
Auntie Vera.
Yeah.
My uncle. Oh my God, that makes you Auntie Vera. Oh my God. Oh shit. I love that movie. I absolutely love that
movie. 90s are good to us. There's a lot of good stuff out there. That's for sure.
But not as good as the 80s films.
No. I mean, not top to bottom for sure. And definitely not within this sweet spot. Not within this, the first half of the 80s that kind of really get the ball rolling for all of these different genres. Like that's the thing too. It's like the 80s, when we talk about how great the 80s were, I don't think we're talking about like, oh, let's just list off the best movies and just start doing a tick mark. It's like we wouldn't get some of these movies if it wasn't for the 80s, because it's also simultaneous to that is, like we talked about last time, it's the boom of VHS and the boom of cable. Right. So you end up with Halloween basically starting this foundation for slasher movie. Then you end up with Jason. You end up with and it just keeps going. Then we get more. We get knockoffs of all those versions. They just become a steamroller, right? Teen comedy. You end up with, and we're not even getting into like the bad teen comedies. We're just talking about some of these bigger mainstream ones. I mean, let's face it. You go to the VHS store, there'd be 20 copies of things I would never even have heard of. I'm like, I don't know what that is. All right, well, let's rent and watch it. And it was just a boob fest, or it was just this kind of shit. It was just, it's that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
Barbarian bikini babes.
It was completely nuts. We didn't talk about like meatballs and all that. There was so many of this sort of era of stuff that just took hold. And again, this is the era of Saturday Night Live, the era of those Saturday Night Live comedians going into film. So you just escalate, just like almost like a steamroller of all this kind of stuff. So,
well, they had all that stuff in the horror movies too. It's like not just the Jason and Freddy, but like Puppet Master. You never expect you start out with this movie of little puppets running around doing this weird stuff, and you're like, damn. And the next minute, this chick's on a bed grabbing herself because she thinks Clark Gable and Carol Lombard did something in that bed. She's like, this is a movie star bed. And you're like, what in the hell is this chick doing? And yeah. And even her husband's like, not now. We're not doing this now.
Well, just the idea that this stuff was it was so like out of control. It's like you knew they could make some sort of money back with VHS and whatever. So you ended up with like Critters and Ghoulies. You ended up with Phantasm. You ended up with all of that in the horror genre. And, the action stuff. We haven't already talked about, again, each genre was just like leveling up at rapid speed, not only from the theatrical point of view, but also from everything after the fact. And that what that did was it gave so many people an opportunity to be groundbreaking, to be innovative. They don't have money, so they had to be creative. And that's the stuff that we really, really love today, because that's the stuff we can see the passion. You know what I mean? Like we talked about with like Conan the Barbarian, so far ahead of its time with what they were able to accomplish. And that score, that musical score, my goodness, it's so good. Being able to bring to light so many different elements of the fantasy genre and things like that. So now Steven and Pat are going more into some other areas of stuff that isn't, that's kind of an offshoot of where we're going here, but yeah, I get what you're saying though. So VHS, oh my goodness.
Of course, I
will say this. Go ahead.
The other one that's forgetting about is also, I think, probably more influential, Weird Science.
Yeah, somebody mentioned Weird Science, Pretty in Pink, all that John Hughes stuff as well, which is, it has some risque moments maybe, but mostly it was pretty good. Yeah, 16 Candles, there it is. Eric had it.
Someone was arguing with me the other day that Robert Downey Jr. was not in Weird Science. I was like, yes, he is.
What? He's one of the bullies.
No. Yeah, he's one of the bullies. But they thought I was talking about like the two main characters. I'm like, oh my God, no, he's one of the bullies.
Oh, yeah. So is John Cusack. People forget he was in that movie as well. Yeah. Oh, it's fun, guys. I know that maybe this isn't I don't know. I don't say it's not our speed, but it's definitely to me it was a breather before we get to doing some different things like that. So I just love this movie. I just have a blast with this. Because next week's a little bit more of kind of we're gonna wind everybody up next week because we're gonna do Jet Li. Because Hero is a fun movie, man. Beautiful movie.
Oh yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And off the walls, insane.
Yeah,
this one
innovation. What was that, IRONCASTER?
Oh, so this is one I got a chance to see in theaters. So this is like one of the few ones from that sort of era where I was kind of starting to get out, starting to go kind of pick movies for myself.
Okay. Yeah, this was a big deal. And we have to give kudos, and please remind me next week to do that because I want to dive a little bit deeper into this too. But I think Tarantino is to credit for us getting this.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. He is. I know a lot of people hate on the man, and he's a thief and he's done whatever. And I'm like, yeah, he's one of us. Sorry. Yeah. No sharks in this one. Just saying. Ducky is a jerk. Yeah. That's a Pretty Pink is a weird movie when you rewatch it again. I don't say it doesn't hold up. It definitely, I think I'm with you, Eric. Like it didn't feel the way I thought it felt. Like it just feels different. Same with Breakfast Club. I gotta be honest, Breakfast Club doesn't quite feel the same way as I thought it would feel. And I don't even know that I like Streets of Fire. It's like, oh, I don't really like this movie. Anyway, yeah. All right. Well, there we go, guys. We got Real Genius, Val Kilmer love. How can we not have more Val Kilmer love in our watch time, our stuff we want to bring in? That's for sure. So, Which, by the way, before I get too far away from it, did you guys? I don't know if you saw or if you happened to see. I did a little video on it promoting it. Fathom Events did their whole big Fright Fest lineup. Did you guys see this?
No.
I did.
Yeah, they added more. So they kind of moved up their whole thing because they normally do like 4 weeks, right? So what they did was, and I don't know if it's because they're taking advantage of the strike or not. But I did a video on this because I was like, whoa, good on you guys. This is why the strike will never matter. So they've expanded it to the first week of September.
Nice.
Look at that, baby. 35th anniversary of They Live. 2 screenings. Christine. They heard us talking about it because we're going to do that too. Shaky Shivers, which is a new movie. I'm not really familiar with it, but listen, it's in theaters. Exorcist 50th.
That's going to be huge.
Yeah, that one.
House of 1,000 Corpses. Onyx is a Fortuitous is a new movie I'm not familiar with. Birds. So yeah, they added a few more dates. So it's going to run. It's not just like October only. They've got some September stuff. So they've almost got 6-7 weeks of stuff. So I was like, wow, all right. So
I tell you, the House of 1,000 Corpses thing. I had like major dental work done. This was in my 20s. And of course, I'm in a recliner and I'm out. I'm like passed out. My mouth is filled with gauze. I'm at home by this point, but I'm still like in and out. They gotta every time they take the gauze out, there's blood everywhere. And they just enough time to give me a pain pill and knock me back out. And the 2 movies I watched were The Punisher, which I kept falling asleep to, and House of 1,000 Corpses. And I didn't remember shit about House of 1,000 Corpses. However, my ex left me there for like an hour on my own, and I kept waking up every time the DVD would cycle and the clown would talk. And he'd start out with, well, shit the bed. How you doing? We're going down to the da-da-da-da of the
it'd wake you up out of
DVD
your stupor.
And I'd like wake up, well, shit the bed. And I'm like, oh my God, this over and over and over and over again. And finally she came back and put back on Punisher. I think those were the only 2 DVDs I had back then. And then I kept waking up to that song that Harry Heck does in the middle of the Punisher. But yeah, House of 1,000 Corpses is a ride.
Messed up movie,
ride
man.
from White Zombie.
Messed up. Chris says classic line Kilmer. Says I'll be your Huckleberry. Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's just my game.
Chris is saying Christine is among his fave. Yeah, we're big Carpenter fans here. So yeah, this is we've already done The Thing and Big Trouble in Little China. And this year coming up soon, we'll be doing Christine, as well as Halloween itself, Halloween 78 on Halloween. So definitely a fan. And next year, for sure, so it doesn't look like we're going to get it to this year, we'll do the Escape films for sure. They need to be included in this conversation for sure.
Maybe one in the spring, one in the fall.
Yeah, maybe we can figure that out. Yeah. Castle says I need to watch. Yes, you do. Yes, you do, Castle. It's amazing. It's almost like prophetic. I believe it's made so long. You're like, whoa. And that fight scene, it's just a blast. Just a blast. Okay. Okay, that's just funny, actually. Sorry. Yeah. Can we kick Castle? No, we're not going to kick him yet. We let people catch up. That's all. So yeah. Let's see. First 3 DVDs, Big Lebowski, 3 Kings, and Fear and Loathing. Cool.
I remember when I was kind of first starting to get into my DVD collecting, like I had just this small enough collection that I could fit it all in a milk crate. And whenever I would go over to my buddy's house, I would bring the milk crate with me. So it was like always like I got something new in the crate.
Very cool.
I think one of my first DVDs was Robin Hood Men in Tights.
They're men in tights.
Tights. That's fun. Yes.
They rob from the rich and steal from the poor. That's right.
So one of my first movies was the movie Seven, and you had to flip it over, and the dog ate it. So that's why I remember it very specifically. My dog had eaten it. We were constantly having to mess with it. I hated movies that you had to flip over. think it was like that broke me of that concept. Like, I don't want to buy any more of these. I gotta flip over.
Matrix was the first DVD I ever owned. I bought a DVD player just for the Matrix because I'd gone over to a friend's house and he was like, "Watch this," and I'm like, "There are no lines. There are no scan lines. There's no distortion. There's no little pop-ups. It looks so clear. Get a DVD player, dude." And I was like, all right, for the Matrix, the original Matrix. I'll go and buy it.
Very cool. Yeah. One was, I know I had some of the James Bond movies early on. It was like one of those things where they would go on some sort of sale and I could afford them back then. That was pretty much the issue, was because it starts off to be a very expensive ordeal. And so it's like, which ones went on sale first was the ones I got first. But I was in there, like Pat said, about every week. Yeah, I was like, what can I get? So yeah, yikes. Just a Polaroid. Yeah, it's rough movie. Great. Yeah, dual disc. Yeah, it's rough. Two-sided. So, well, Ironcaster, my brother, what is going on the rest of the week for you, my friend? Oh man, your comic time and stuff with Twig on Saturdays, always a blast, man.
Actually, I was thinking about doing a little streaming tonight. One of my favorite games of all time, Guild Wars 2 has a new expansion out, and I figured I'm gonna play it anyway. I'm gonna be sitting right here. I might as well go live and hang out and see what's new.
That sounds great. Make sure, folks, you are connected to this guy. Hopefully later tonight you'll be streaming with him, hanging out with him. That'd be fun. It'd be awesome. That's great, man. Awesome. Loki, my brother, what's going on with you?
Well, Mexican Iron Man is taking over Mornings of Mischief tomorrow morning for Mexicano YouTube Talkalada. So he's gonna do YouTube talk tomorrow his own way, and I'm not to interfere in any way, shape, or form. He said, if I'm gonna do it for you, you gotta let me do it the way I want to. I said, okay. I got labs in the morning, so I'm gonna miss tomorrow morning. I will, however, be listening just in case he does something absolutely reckless or untoward or whatever. I will be listening. You hear me, Mexican Iron Man. Thursday, I'm gonna have on Mary's Game Room. We're going to talk about her charity, and God knows what's going to happen Friday. So, yeah.
All right.
That's always crazy with Arwen and Dave Bob.
Mike never answered my question.
Eric was plugging a couple of comics here, so it's good to know, Eric. Thank you. What was your question?
I was trying to ask, like, if I have to roll out of a window and there's no bush, if I have to jump out a window, there's no bush, what's the best thing to save my life?
Tuck and roll.
Tomorrow will be different. Chris is asking about Dark Tower.
No, I talked
to
Daryl earlier, and we're going to take like a week break. We should be back next week, though. I think. I don't know, but yeah. So that's what's going on with Dark Tower.
About an hour from now, I'll be on with Jacob Ironside. We'll be, I don't know the whole panel, but I know that I'll be on with Jacob doing some sort of conversation about Casablanca, just one of the greatest films of all time, and just kind of playing a little bit of a talk through on some of that. Not going to pretend to be an aficionado. I don't know if Mags is going to be there. She's the aficionado on Casablanca, man. Whew, that's her thing. So I'll be doing that. Tomorrow, I don't really have a comic talk tomorrow, but I have some comic book conversations about stuff tomorrow. So make sure you check that out. And then as we head into the week, in the weekend, talking about all sorts of different TV shows and things like that. A lot of, I watch it so you don't have to, sadly enough. I wish I could tell you that I was out there watching something I thought was great, but that's not really the case exactly. There's been some stuff that's okay, but not great. Let's see. Yeah. Very good. Thank you, guys. This has been fun. I mean, this is one of those just really fun, taking me back. Teenage Pops. Taking me back. Mrs. Pops is there too. She just was so happy to rewatch it. I see you don't do Casablanca with me too. She's like, no, I'm good. It is long. It's a long movie. So she was not having that. But it's what it is. So this week's Watch Your Story is Nick Weiser. So yeah, I got 32 Flavors of Nick coming on, doing Watch Your Story, talking a little bit about the journey. But I think more than anything else, I think what we get out of him is like the juggling and the balancing of everything, and just trying to persevere through. Because sometimes I think that's the hardest thing, is like the work paying off, just the grinding, if you will. So Yeah, Eric's yeah, it's a fun movie. It really is interesting too, because there's a great scene in Casablanca where Rick's basically like calling her a slut without calling her a slut. It was awesome. It's like, oh, is it just him or was there other men in between? And you're like, whoa, he's calling her a slut in 1942. Wow.
They had a way with words.
They were interesting with how they would handle, and these movies are part of the reason I think they're so timeless is when you really do rewatch them, you really can pick up on a lot of what's unspoken, a lot of what's really going on. I think that's what's connected with people for years is you just see so much great execution of the craft, and it transcends, what we feel like are sort of like conservative themes and messaging, because it's really, really not. It's in there. So,
well, part of that is because of the Hays Code. They were restricted in things they could not do in films, so they had to be more creative.
Yeah, imagine that. Had to be more creative. Well, that's a lost art, isn't it? So,
well, you mean just having every option available doesn't lead to better films? Not
CGI and a whole bunch of planes flying over or whatever. No, they just had to be creative with their one thing. They just had, this is all they got. So, it is this one set. Everything else had to be recycled. We don't have that kind of money. It was rushed. It was a rushed film. It was not something that was in production for years or anything. So it's fun to get into cinema history a little bit and do that kind of thing. So it'll be a good time doing that. So. Well, guys, thank you so much for doing this. Hail to all of you in chat. Wonderful folks here as always. Always fun to talk nerdy stuff with you guys. Thanks so much for watching, hanging out with us. Hero next week, Jet Li's Hero. That'll be a great time talking about it. Just a fun movie, man. Oh, man. It's kind of an underrated movie, right? I think we will give some love for, Crouching Tiger. And maybe that's why. Maybe it's too close to Crouching Tiger, and that's why Hero gets forgotten. I don't know. We'll see. We'll talk about that next week. See what you guys think. So, but listen, guys, thanks again for being here. Thank you, my brothers. Thank you, Chris Persia, leading the mod stuff out there. Pat S, of course, helping me out as well. Appreciate everything everybody does. All the support from all you members. You guys are just amazing. And by the way, if you're not a member, consider, because you do get to see the amazing card break with Zach's. It was amazing busting open that X-Men box of cards, because we definitely had a fun time doing that. So, but with that, guys, take care. Be blessed. Until next time, talk hard and remember to chill with our buddy Bob. Take care, everybody.
Ross, all I do is chill. My life is a thrill, for real, Bob Ross. I be too calm for the drama. You don't wanna cause a problem, I'll solve it, Bob Ross.